What is up, you sweet, beautiful beings of the universe? It's me, your host, Shanoon Ocean, and welcome back to the Wolf Portal podcast. I have an amazing episode lined up for you today because I got to interview the fucking incredible transformational teacher, healer, speaker, and author, Dr. Ken Harris. As fate would have it, or as synchronicity would have it, as the universe and the gods and the guides and our higher selves would have it, I ran into this amazing human being at the beach. And we're going to tell you all about it in this week's episode of The Wolf Portal. And I don't want to give too much away about this episode, but, my only advice to you for this week's episode would be to maybe, if you have a pen and a piece of paper, or you can take notes on your phone, to have that ready, because this episode is truly a gold mine of knowledge and insights and wisdom from Dr. Ken Harris. Maybe let's just all actually, right here, right now, close our eyes. Unless you're driving. Do not close your eyes if you're driving. But if you're not driving, and you're not at work, and you're somewhere where you can just really settle into the moment, let's just go ahead and close our eyes and take a couple deep breaths. In through your nose, and down into your belly. Feel your belly expand, and then just sigh it out. And again, just go ahead and take a nice deep breath in through your nose, following it down into your belly as your belly expands, holding it for a few seconds before sighing it out. And just one more time, and I'll be quiet because I'm sure you've got the hang of it at this point. It's beautiful how just a couple of deep breaths like that have the power to reset your nervous system entirely and open you up so that you're ready to receive whatever energy is coming in or going out, We have the power to actually receive it, and alchemize it as we do with our brains and our hearts and our energetic fields and all of it with our whole human entirely. And so now that you've done that tiny little exercise, you're that much more ready to receive all of the goodness of this week's episode of the Wolf Portal podcast. Dr. Ken Harris also has an incredible book about one of my favorite things. It's literally all about synchronicity. And if you don't know what synchronicity is, you're going to find out, so don't worry. But I am going to link Dr. Harris's website just below here, and I highly recommend checking it out because it is, I mentioned this in the episode actually, it is a rabbit hole that is delightful to fall down into. There's so much goodness on there. And I'm also going to link the place where you can purchase his book if you so choose to. I highly recommend it. And yeah, go ahead and check out all the goodness. And besides that, the only thing that I ask is, if you enjoy the Wolf Portal podcast, if you would please, pretty please, leave a review. Leave a review wherever you listen. And what else? Oh yeah, tell a friend. If you enjoy any of the Wolf Portal episodes, tell a friend about it. Maybe they tell another friend. Maybe they tell another friend. Before you know it, I take over the world. Just kidding. I don't want to take over the world. But, be nice to expand my outreach a little bit, and you guys can help with that, because word of mouth is one of the best ways to spread the Wolf Portal vibes. And last but not least, check out my website as well, because I have a meditation course available. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, even if you're not interested in that sort of thing, check it out. Without further ado, I truly, truly, truly hope, actually know that you're going to enjoy this episode of the Wolf Portal podcast. Dr. Ken Harris, thank you so much for entering the portal with me today.
Good morning, and I'm honored and privileged to walk through the doorway with you.
I truly am honored to be able to chat with you this morning. And I guess I'll just start by telling the story of how we met because it was just so in alignment with everything that we are all about. So how it all happened is, well, I should preface it by saying that I've been really interested in my connection with my intuition lately. And so a couple of days prior to meeting you, I I've been like working on intuition meditations and just listening to podcasts about how to gain that clarity, because sometimes I feel like it's hard to know what is my intuition and what is my mental chatter. And so anyways, fast forward to the day that I met you. Is a weekday, and I was returning some bartending things to my manager. And so I drove down to Bonita Springs, and she lives near the beach. And I'm just like driving down there in the morning, and I didn't really have much planned, but I thought, like, I'd want to have a productive day. So I would just drop everything off. But I was like, man, it is gorgeous outside. And I was like, maybe I go to the beach, just look at the water. I was like, no, no, I really should get going home. And then I had this moment where I don't know, I guess it was my intuition. But I had this moment of like total clarity. And I was like, nah, I'm going to the beach. I'll find something that I can wear as a bathing suit, because my car, we won't talk about the state that I usually keep it in. and, and so I just made my way down to the beach, and sure enough, the water was beautiful. And as I'm walking onto the beach, somebody compliments my hair, and that somebody was you. And so we just started talking, and I noticed you had this beautiful necklace on that was
I'm wearing it today. Let me show you.
yes.
This one.
So beautiful. And it's Metatron's cube with all of the chakra crystals on it. And you asked me if I knew what that was. And I told you, and you asked me, you were like, are you a conscious being? And I was like, I'd like to say so, yeah. And we just started conversation. And when you handed me your card, I don't know. I had this moment of, oh my God, this is nuts, because your card has your book, and your book title is Synchronicity. Is that what it is?
Well, they always told me to hold it up. Yeah, this is the book. It's called
Yes.
Synchronicity, the Magic, the Mystery, the Meaning. And yeah, it's on my business card. So that's what I gave.
Yes. And you told me that you specialize in synchronicity, and it was just a beautiful synchronistic moment that I'm so grateful for. So cheers to the universe for aligning us in that moment, and to my guides for leading me in my intuition.
And cheers to you for recognizing that this was a magic moment, that there was a reason that you and I were engaged in conversation. So I did
Absolutely.
compliment you. Yeah, I had never seen hair. I mean, that's a work of art. I've never, I've seen cornrows many times, but never as pretty as yours. And I just genuinely just wanted to compliment you on the beauty of it all. Not that I was, listen, I'm old enough to be a grandpapa. I wasn't looking to pick you up. I was in awe of the artwork. It must have taken hours to do. Anyway,
Thank
and then
you.
I think you saw me wearing this and you asked me, that's when you asked me something and then I asked you. So here we are,
Here we
several
are.
months later in this Zoom call, and hopefully we'll spread some light and love and enlightenment to your listeners on
Hmm.
the power of intuition and to pay attention, to stay aware, awake, and alert,
Hmm.
because the universe is arranging these things all the time.
Yeah.
No word for universe. You could use the word God. You could use life. You could use many different things, but the source field is
Hmm.
bringing us together at very specific times for very specific reasons. I had another one yesterday, but I'll wait to tell you about that one.
Oh, there's so many tabs open right now. I have so many questions. But as we're here talking about how Source gifts us, these beautiful moments and interactions, I wonder, how how would you say is the best way to decipher, the stream of our consciousness, all of our minds chatter from what is real, and how are we to sort of purify ourselves? And I don't mean purify as in like, some sort of angelic good versus bad thing, but just purify, because I feel like, you know, being here in this earth realm, as beautiful as it is, we get clouded up, sort of, we get muddied up by, conditioning and just our own stuff, our own traumas. And it makes it a little bit harder to hear that whisper, because it does feel like a whisper when it comes. So I guess my question is sort of, how can we become more attuned to the whisper?
Good question. And you started to talk about, how do I know if what I'm thinking is my intuition, or is it really coming from source? And I would say that the distinguishing factor would be, how do you feel, not how do you think. Thinking of the conscious mind is a great liar. It can talk you in and out of anything, but your
Mhm.
body won't lie to you. So I would say pay attention to how you feel when a situation emerges. You meet somebody. More important than what they're yipping and yapping about, but
Mhm.
you and I went deep quick. I mean, we went in 5 minutes, because it was comfortable. You felt comfortable in my
Absolutely.
presence, and you were open. Maybe you would have been a little more guarded with somebody else, but my field was clear. So
Absolutely. Right after our interaction, I was in the water and this guy started talking to me and I was like, "Ah, man." It's
he had a
like,
different agenda. I get it.
yeah.
So how you feel is more important than how you think. Uh,
Mm,
the conscious mind, as I say, can talk you in and out of anything. So pay attention to your body. Now, some people will feel it in their throat chakra, some in their heart, some in their gut. But
mhm.
there's a place in your body that will expand, open. The energy will expand. You'll feel safe. You'll feel peaceful. Pay attention.
Wow.
And
Wow.
the number one
Beautiful.
way to have synchronicity is talk to strangers. The strangers really are people that you're connected with, but you just haven't met them until that moment. Now, not
Yeah.
everybody you meet is going to resonate. It has to do with energy and frequency. So there's a certain resonant field that we all carry, a signature soul essence, and we
Mhm.
recognize each other. Even though
Mm,
you're in a black body, I'm in a white body, I'm a man, you're a woman. No, no, no. That's the package.
mhm.
But beyond that, beyond all those outer trappings, there's connection.
Yeah. Yeah, this is so true. And it's so crazy that you've said the number one way to recognize synchronicity is to talk to strangers, because this is something that we don't do these days, one, because of our phones. Everybody is so engrossed into our little boxes, and this whole thing with social media being like providing us with this false sense of connection
Right.
has so largely taken away from the real thing. That, and I feel like there's this there's this huge disconnection, right? Like I was telling my friend the other day that I was in Publix and, just I just got a couple things and the cashier after they were done checking out my things, he looked right up and like actually looked into my eyes. He's like, "Have a good day." And but that was it. But it really touched, like I felt touched by that whole interaction because I felt like he actually saw me, like these days it's just this like this interaction, this meaningless, like nobody looks in your eyes, and it's this sort of like sometimes people don't even say have a good day. Sometimes it's like it's very robotic. Um, and it's just crazy that way, that and there's this state of fear in people, like that one I could attest to. I'm scared to talk to strangers and I don't know why, and so I
Your
guess the
conditioning
whole
has taught you it's not safe always to do that. Yeah,
hmm
that's the why, because of
yeah
past history. And the disconnect is not between us, it's within us.
mm,
Most people are not connected to their own soul self. So they don't know how to connect to another because they're not connected to themselves. So
mm,
that's why I recommend people learn some kind of meditation training
yes.
to become acquainted with your true self. By the way, you'll
hmm
spend eternity with yourself. You better get to know yourself now if you have an opportunity. And then once that connection is made, it's easy to connect to other people on a
hmm
horizontal level. But the real disconnect is vertical.
mm,
We're all walking around, like you say, automatons, and we're hypnotized to the unreal. And
absolutely.
people are hypnotized by by the phone. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a blessing and it's a cursing at the same time. I was at a restaurant and six young people were all on their phones, and I said, "What are you doing?" "Oh, we're texting each other." I said, "You're doing what?" "Put the phones in the center of the table, please, and start looking at each other and talk to one another." Because the texting, when you text, you can get in trouble.
hmm
Words have connotation, different meanings to different people. And
yeah,
so,
absolutely.
but when you look at someone, you can read their field, you can read their energy, their body posture, there's so much more communication going on this way than there
hmm
is through this.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually listening to this communications specialist sort of talk about exactly what we're talking about the other day, and he said something along the lines of like when you actually are looking another human being, like when you're in the presence of another human being and you guys are interacting, that is true communication and conversation. What technology has done has taken the communication aspect out of it. So it's just like a back and forth of information, but the humanness isn't there, the love, the energy, the vibration, the frequency, it doesn't always get carried that way.
Yeah. Well, very good point. If you want to know what heaven's like, look in the eyes of a baby, because the
Mm,
baby has the memory still, the young ones.
yeah.
All right. And at a certain age, they start to forget, obviously, but like
hmm
the rest of us, because mother, father, teacher, preacher, culture gives them a sense of who they are. And they
hmm
forget where they come from. But
yeah.
when I look at another person, I mean, real communication. I mean, if you look at another person really eye to eye,
hmm
you're really seeing a reflection of yourself.
and it's so trippy,
I
it's
mean,
like the
yeah,
chills just even thinking about it, because that's
you're seeing
exactly
the
what it
self.
is.
Yeah, you're seeing the soul self because there's only one soul,
hmm
differentiated in many life forms. We happen to be in human bodies now, having a temporary, quote, human experience. But
hmm
we're beings, we're human hyphen beings. So
hmm
we're really beings having human experience. You
yes.
say, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, temporary one, but I'm an eternal being. So that's the real key to make that co- connection with
hmm
oneself, one's essential self.
yeah, and I love that we ended up here because I was having a bit of a hard time yesterday. I was watching this documentary called Samadhi, and it's all about reaching that Samadhi state. And it was called The Pathless Path. And I got to thinking about how we are spiritual beings having this human experience, And I think about how whenever I first became aware that I was a spiritual being having human experience, I really started like diving deep and wanting to do all of these like meditations to tap into my power and to I don't know, I don't want to say astral project, but communicate with the divine and nurture this divine aspect of myself, really. Um, and then I got like so lost in that, that all these different practices that it's just like how you said before we started this podcast, focus on the inner world rather than inner space, rather than outer space. And I feel like it's so easy to get caught up in the outer space things. And and so here's where my question is. I'm sure you've heard of the Ram Dass quote where he says,
I knew Ram Dass. Not I only heard of him, but I know him personally.
oh my goodness,
And I have a
wow.
whole chapter in my book about meeting him. In my book, there's a whole chapter about me and Ram Dass and what happened between us, which was quite mystical.
Oh my goodness. Could I okay, I want to finish this, but I would love to hear that story because wow, Ram, wow, this is incredible. Like I really am I'm just talking to a legend right now and I feel this and I know this, but it's so crazy because all of the people like every time I'm like, oh my gosh, Joe Dispenza, you're like, yeah, I worked with Joe Dispenza. I'm like, what? This is crazy. I texted my friend right after we got off the phone the other day. I was like, Dr. Ken Harris knows Joe Dispenza. He's like, wow. Okay. So, so Ram Dass would often talk about how he had this disembodied friend who would tell him, Ram Dass, you're in Earth school, like you're in school. Why don't you take the curriculum? Which I love so much. And is something I try to remind myself of often. But, I get a little bit confused. I feel like the borders, the lines become blurred when we're really diving into spirituality and like sort of on this ascension process, but also like I know that we're here to enjoy this earth experience. Do you know what I mean? Does
Yes.
that make sense?
Well, we're incarnate. We're in the flesh for a reason.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, I understand.
so so I just wonder, I feel like it's a really slippery slope between just wanting to be fully like divine and just like totally ascended and what is it like enlightened, but also like accepting the fact that we are humans, and making the most out of this experience and being grateful for this experience.
I agree. We got to find a balance. You can't live in
Hmm.
one world totally or the other world totally. You have to find, we're conduits. We're,
Hmm.
we're, we're the doorkeepers. I think
Yeah.
something the wolf, you call it the wolf portal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're portal carriers, we
Wow.
stand at the door. If we're truly aligned and balanced, yeah, we're human hyphen being. We're both at the same time. And
Mm,
not to deny one or the other, and
mm,
not to go off it, and live in the astral plane when we're really here. We're not here to get into heaven, by the way. We're here to bring heaven to the earth.
mm,
That's the function of man. We're
mhm.
the connecting link. We're the missing link, you might say. They've been looking for the missing link, they have all these anthropologists, they have all these stories about the missing link, the homipeds and the Homo sapiens.
Yeah.
We're it. True man and woman hasn't shown up yet on the planet. We're in a state of evolve.
Mm,
So, we're not all there and we're not all here. We're between the two worlds. But that's the
beautiful.
purpose of man. We are light bearers, and to shine the light on the path for ourselves and for other people to see their next step. But
Whew.
I'm not my body. But when my body hurts, it lets me know. It lets me know to take care of it, not to deny.
Absolutely.
Not my
Absolutely.
thinking, my thoughts. I'm not my emotions. I have thoughts, I have emotions, I have a body. So,
Hmm.
as Ram Dass would say, who are you? And his
Mm,
answer would be, I am loving presence. I am
hmm.
loving presence, or loving awareness, he would call
Yes.
it. And
Yes.
we actually we watch our capacities for the expression of the life that we are. Our
Mm,
true essence is life in expression. Living in
wow.
full expression is an acronym for the word life. Living in full expression. And
Wow.
not many people are awake to that.
Absolutely.
Most people, the separation is the norm in most people's awareness. But
Hmm.
oneness is the reality. And there's a gap between those two realizations. That's
Yeah.
why we're bumping into each other all the time, because you think you're there and I'm here.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
And you
Wow.
know what separates us? Only one thing separates you, me, and everybody else is our belief systems. We
Hmm.
all have our pet belief systems,
Yeah.
particularly in religion, particularly in the healing arts. I'm a healing art practitioner. I tried to bring all the healing arts together under an umbrella organization, and everybody thought their spoke was the answer. The
Yeah.
acupuncturist know it, the chiropractor know it, the MD know. No, no, we all have a piece of the answer.
Hmm.
We all have a contribution to the whole. Uh,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's
so
like if we put it all in a pot, then we'll have a beautiful, beautiful concoction.
Well,
Yeah.
there's time and place for everything. I'm not against material medicine. There's a time for physical medicine, but I,
Hmm.
I encourage people to investigate all natural means to heal. But there are sometimes you have to submit to more physical ways of helping one another. I had a couple of times myself in my life where I had to seek medical care. So
Hmm.
it's all good, and then when we go to the religion, God is known by 1,000 names.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a war now. We're gonna have a war over it's God. There's one God, and that's the problem. All the world's problems are the result of this disconnect, this
Hmm.
illusion of separation, and not
Yeah.
knowledge and the reality of oneness. Now, you
Hmm.
want to hear my Ram Dass story or not?
I do. I do. Yes. But
Now I know you didn't read my book, so you're gonna have to read my book.
I know, I know.
See?
And I can't wait to, honestly. I'm very excited to, but I have this thing. So I want to get some shirts made that say polyamorous but with books because I start one book, I get really into it, then another, then another, then another, and then I find myself never finishing any book. So I promised myself that I would finish my small little stack pile of books before I
Well, the
get any.
good thing about my book, it's user friendly. There's 24 stories. They're not more than 3, 4, 5 pages at tops. Each chapter, it's little vignettes about how
Mm,
I met someone and why I met them and the reason behind it and so on and so forth. So meeting Ram Dass was one of those synchronicities.
wow.
I used to take care of Dr. Wayne Dyer. So I was in Maui, Hawaii. And while I was there, a friend of mine from New Jersey called me, and he loved Ram Dass. He was a meditation teacher. And he says, while you're there, why don't you go and see Ram Dass? I didn't even know Ram Dass lived on Maui at the time. I
Hmm.
knew of him. I knew because in the 1960s, he wrote a book called Be Here Now, which was his
Yes,
pivotal work.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so I was familiar with all his teachings and background. I had listened to some YouTube. He was an incredible, incredible public speaker. He
He
could keep an
was.
audience for 3 hours on the edge of their seats like this.
Still, that's how I'll listen to his lectures, like edge of my seat, like wow, tears and everything.
Well,
It's
he was
just beautiful.
he was is and was brilliant when he was in human body, but
Hmm.
now he's since graduated back to the you come from the here's what we say, you come from the nowhere to the now here, and then
Hmm.
you leave, you go back to everywhere. So he's in
Wow.
everywhere state now. But
Wow.
so I spoke with my friend. He said, well, I'll give you his private number and call up. Maybe he'll give you an audience. Rare that he does, he says, because between he did twice a year, he did big opening the heart in paradise seminars on Maui, where Krishna Das came and all the different yogi people came, and it was
Wow.
beautiful. So he said to me, well, give him a call. You might get lucky. So I called. I left a message. No one answered the phone. It was a machine.
Hmm.
And I didn't hear anything back. And he said, well, 2, 3 days later, he says, why don't you give him another call? Be a little pesty. Maybe you'll get lucky. So I called again, left a message, didn't hear anything. So we're ready to leave. We're on the date of departure we were there for 2 weeks in Maui. And I get an alert from the airline, your flight has been canceled. I said, oh, interesting, flight's canceled. The next call I got right after that was Ram Dass's secretary,
Oh my
saying that
gosh.
he would like to meet with you. And again, this was a privilege because again, he didn't see people because he had been debilitated. He had a stroke, and
Right.
20 years was in a wheelchair.
Hmm.
Partially paralyzed. He had aphasia where he could speak
Hmm.
and then stop. Anyway, she says, well, can you come tomorrow morning? I said, well, yes, I can. I said, my flight just got canceled, so I guess it's my destiny to meet Richard Albert, right?
Wow.
That was his earth name. He got his Sanskrit name from Neem Karoli Baba in
Mhm.
India, but his name was Dr. Richard Albert. Anyway,
Mhm.
I got excited. I got in the car, and on the way over, I bought flowers because I said, "Well, I'm going to bring this guy. He's got everything." So I want to bring him flowers.
Oh.
And I didn't really know why I was going to. I didn't know consciously why I was going, other
Mhm.
than this was an opportunity to meet a legendary spiritual teacher. So I get there, and he was on an isolated road in Maui, down a
Wow.
long driveway, and a doctor had given him the house. Get this, a doctor just one day said, "You got to take my house." So that's where he lived for the last maybe 10 years of his life, I think.
Oh my
Anyway,
goodness.
I walk in and the secretary greets me, and I said, "I had these flowers for Ramdas." She says, "You give them to him." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "You got a vase?" So let's put them in a vase and I'll go in. So as I walk into the room, he's sitting in a wheelchair, and I could feel the stillness and his aura and his presence just in that room as I approached him. And I sat down and I smiled at him. He smiled at me and he said, "What brings you here today, Ken?" And I looked at him and I said, I'm not sure." And then all of a sudden, I had the realization that a friend that he and I shared, we had a mutual friend. His name was Sham Das. Now, Sham was an American. He was a kirtan, the yogi,
Mhm.
what do you call it, bhakti yoga guy.
Yeah.
He started the kirtans at Omega Institute in New York, spoke
Oh,
6
wow.
languages. I met him through Synchronicity 6 years ago, prior to that. But unfortunately, Sham, and he was a soul brother to me. I talk about it in the book how I first met him too. Another one
Mhm.
of those you just know, you intuitively meet someone. You say, "Hey, I know this person."
Absolutely.
And it ain't from this rodeo; it's from a previous incarnation.
Mhm.
And I said, I started to feel a sense of grief. I said, and he knew, Ram Das knew Sham Das because every year Sham would go and play checkers with him. He knew him for 25 years.
Wow.
And I said, he got killed in India, which he knew. He was on a motorbike. He got hit by a car. And
Oh.
before they could get him to the hospital, he episoded. He had a pulmonary embolism and he died.
Oh,
And
wow.
all of a sudden, I had this sense of grief. I was sad. The human part of me was sad. I missed him. He's my buddy. We used to go
Mhm.
hiking. We used to go swimming.
Wow.
Just another beautiful, beautiful soul. And I want to know how he's doing. That's what I said to Ramdas. How's Sham doing? He turns, look at me, he looks at me, puts his head down, he touches his third eye, and he goes, "Sham with Krishna, God." And
Wow.
then the presence came in the room. It was Sham.
Wow.
And I went from sadness to joy. And he said, "I'm fine. I'm moving on. Don't be remorseful. There is no death."
Whew.
That's what the message was. Don't,
Whew.
not my body, but I'm still here. And so, I had said this is a funny story because I said to Ramdas, whose by the name was again Richard Albert. I forgot that. Uh, I said, this guy Sham was my mishpucha. Now I'm half Jewish and half Irish in this
Mhm.
incarnation, but the word mishpucha in the Jewish religion, in Hebrew, I guess, or Yiddish, means member of your family. I said, Sham and I were mishpucha. We were family members. I mean,
Mhm.
and just know it. And I said, this is where it gets funny. And I said to Ramdas, I said, I don't know if you know what that word means, but it means a member of your family. And then he starts to laugh. And I'm saying to myself, why is he laughing? You know, he says, and here's what he said. He says, Ken, and he went a little bit in hesitancy through the aphasia because he had the stroke.
Mhm.
Ken, I know what mishpucha means. I says, you do? He says, I'm Jewish. That's what Ramdas is telling me. And I realized his name was Richard Albert. He came from
Yeah.
a very wealthy Jewish family. His father owned a railroad. They were
Mhm.
extremely wealthy, and he had planes and trains and women and men. He had it all. He did it
Yeah.
all. He really experienced the whole gamut of the human experience. So after
Wow.
that, every time I met him after that, we had a private joke. I go, Mishbuka, And we both laugh. We both have a chuckle.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Well, that's my
Wow.
story of how I met Richard Albert. Because I was never a guru follower personally. I was never a joiner of anything in my whole life. I was pretty much a lone wolf. Funny, you
Hmm.
should use the wolf portal. But I was a lone wolf. But I'm not a lone wolf anymore. The
Hmm.
day of the lone wolf, by the way, is over. It's
Yeah.
now community.
Hmm.
We're not all going to do this by ourselves. No, we do it
Right.
in collaboration, not in
Absolutely.
competition, in
Absolutely.
collaboration. So,
Yes.
but that's, I never joined anything because I had this
Wow.
attitude, I'll do it myself. Until I got sick and I needed help. Then you ask for
Hmm.
help. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
the ego. The ego gets surrendered.
Absolutely. Yeah. The
We
universe
can't
has a
do it all
beautiful way of
ourselves.
doing that.
Yeah, we can't.
Hmm.
We need other people, and there's more than one of us.
Yeah.
If there's only need for one, there's only be one being, but there's no
Hmm.
one being differentiated in many life forms.
Absolutely. Wow. So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us all. So,
I
wow.
shared it with the world. It's in the book. The same way I met Wayne Dyer through synchronicity, I met Deepak Chopra through synchronicity, and I'm hoping that if Oprah Winfrey ever gets a hold of my book, I sent it to her. I'll meet her. And the reason
Ooh.
is, I had this. You know what a vivid dream is? When you have a dream
Hmm.
state, but you're there, it's
Hmm.
more real than being here. Almost, it feels that way.
Yes.
And in the dream, I was going to meet Wayne Dyer, I was told, and Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey. So the funny thing is, I met Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra both 17 years apart on the same day, both times walking on a beach. You can't make this stuff up. And
Wow.
I worked for Deepak. I taught the 7 spiritual laws of success all around the world. The last 2 years of Wayne's life, I became his chiropractor, but I hadn't met Oprah yet. So here's the story with Oprah. She was in the dream. She was interviewing me about a book I hadn't even written yet. I didn't know I was going to write the book when I saw the dream that she was doing the Super Soul Sunday type thing.
Hmm.
Where she used to interview an author under
Yeah.
the tree in Montecito. She's got an estate there. And
Hmm.
so anyway, so no Oprah. So I'm hiking up in the mountains 6 months after the book is produced. And I meet Gail King. Now, Gail King is Oprah's BFF, her best friend. She's on Channel 2 News. You know
Hmm.
who Gail King is?
No, but I've
Okay.
heard the name before.
Okay, well, she travels everywhere with Oprah. Okay.
Wow.
She's and Oprah, they see them all the time on specials and so on. And Oprah's up in the woods. And I mean, Gail is up in the woods, and I'm there with my wife, and I see her and I recognize her and I tell her the whole story. She says, "Oh, Ken, give me your card. I'll tell Oprah." She likes stories like this. She's into this. Another 6 months go by, still no Oprah. I'm out in California. I'm in La Jolla. I'm eating breakfast at the Hyatt Regency at the club level, up in the top of the hotel. And Stedman Graham, do you know who Stedman Graham is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, you're young. Stedman Graham is Oprah's boyfriend. He's the guy who shows up with her at every big event.
Oh my goodness.
He sits down right next to me, and I look at him and I said, "Well, you know who Oprah Winfrey is. I'm sure of that. You don't know
Yeah.
who Oprah Winfrey? You're living under a rock." You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I said,
Exactly.
I looked at him and I very casually, I said, "Hey, Stedman, is Oprah with you?" And he says, "Why do you ask?" I said, "Well, because I had this dream." And I told him how I met Gail. They know each other. And I go through the whole thing. He says, "Well, give me your card. I'll tell Oprah. She likes stories like this." The same thing Gail said. However, I have not, then COVID hit, the COVID thing.
Mm,
Oprah was sequestered. She didn't come out of her house, I think, for 2 years anyway. She was
wow.
very fearful because she had pneumonia, episodes of pneumonia, and she's concerned.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So she locked down. But now I'm hoping it's opened up.
Yeah.
Maybe
Everything's
she'll
opening
see
back
this or
up.
hear this, or someone
Yeah.
who's listening knows her. Tell her I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the call. And I write about that in the book. There's a whole chapter.
Wow. Beautiful. Yeah. I
That's how
mean,
my
it's
life
definitely,
has
it's already
been.
written. So
My
that's
life
so
has been
beautiful.
guided through synchronicity. And
Wow.
synchronicity, you can think of it, if anyone listening, it's a spiritual gyroscope to get your attention, get you back on track.
Mm,
It's not happenstance, it's not random. There's
hmm.
purpose and meaning behind the people you're meeting and when you're meeting them. You just got
Hmm.
to be aware, awake, and alert to recognize it as you recognized me. You knew, I
Absolutely.
mean, you could have said, thank you very much, sir, and kept walking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you didn't.
Wow.
You turned around, you thanked me for the compliment, and then you saw the Metatron. So you look at it, I
Cute.
said, you know what that is? And you said, I know what that is. Anyway, had I not been wearing that, who knows if we would have gone into that conversation? I
Yeah.
don't know, but I wear it on the beach a lot because it gets people's attention and they start
Mm-hmm.
asking me questions. And then, of course, I segue into the whole concept of synchronicity. You can think of synchronicity as God winks, God
Yes.
remains anonymous. It's this, it's a divine appointment. Let me put it that way. You're being given an opportunity. And
Wow.
I've had some really, really exceptional ones.
Wow.
Sometimes they're little things. You think of someone, they
Mm-hmm.
call, you're fine.
Yes. Yeah.
I've even picked the phone up and the person's there that I'm going to call and I never
Yeah.
dialed.
Yeah. That's happened with my mom a couple times.
There you go, because you're resonant frequency. You're
Mm-hmm.
connected. You and your mom, even though you're not in the same physicality, but energetically, you're connected. That's why I always
Mm-hmm.
tell people, be careful how you end your relationships, because you're still connected to those people. And don't ever
Mm.
burn your bridges because you may have to go back over them. You're still having conversations with those people, but it's
Yeah.
all subconscious.
Mm.
The consciousness, the conscious mind is the tip of the iceberg. And
Yeah.
we know that 2/3 of the iceberg is underneath the surface, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You just see
Yes.
the top, but the bottom. So we're always in communion, in communication
Mm-hmm.
with multiple people all around the planet. And some of them
Wow.
you never even met them, but they're part of your soul family.
Wow. Wow. So, man, I don't even know how much time has gone by. It doesn't matter. Well, for me at least, I'm sure you have a busy schedule, but
Oh, I'm in the
I,
moment. You got me for the hour. So if you want to talk, we can continue to talk. I scheduled an hour to be with you. So
oh,
whenever you want.
lovely, lovely. Yeah. So you are just this wellspring of knowledge and magic, and and I'm curious about your journey. I'm curious about how things started with you. I know you had this amazing practice, and it wasn't even just chiropractic, but
Chiropractic, yeah.
chiropractic. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm wondering if you can share, a little bit of your hero's journey. I'm very interested in the hero's journey. I have this hero's journey meditation series. But yeah.
Well, be happy to. Yeah, sure. So I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was
Mhm.
born in the South Bronx, New York City. I
Wow.
had wonderful parents. That's why I'm still alive. My mother said a lot of rosary beads.
Aw.
Early on, we were very, very poor. Grew up, five of us in two rooms. My
Wow.
dad was a cab driver, never made a lot of money. We didn't know when our next meal was going to come.
Mm.
But in order to survive in the South Bronx, I had to be in a gang. I had to become part of a gang because it was territorial. As a matter
Wow.
of fact, I had to leave my junior high school because I had an altercation with another gang member leader, and they were going to kill me. And they came at the lunchtime and they stuck a gun in my chest and they said, "We're going to shoot you at 3 o'clock." I went to my teacher and I told him what happened, and he said, "Well, we got to get you out of here." So they called the police. The police came. They took me. I never went back to that school.
Oh my goodness.
And then, as life would have it, I had a brief episode with drugs. So I didn't. This is the polished Ken. This is the other side of my life cycle. All right. I was the only one in my family. I got 3 degrees, 3 advanced degrees. I was lucky, to have that opportunity. I got scholarships because even with all the other stuff going on, I was a very good student, and I got
Hmm.
scholarship to college and to graduate school and so on. My mother prayed, as I say a lot, and I'm sure I'm alive today because of her prayers. And
Oh.
then I met my beautiful wife. I was 22 and she was 21.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that was a major shift, a pivotal point in my life. I stopped using drugs. I cleaned my act up. I loved this woman immensely. She was my soulmate, and
Oh.
we were married 53 years. And her father was a chiropractor. And here's the funny synchronicity how life works. In high school, senior of high school, I went out with another girl, and her father was a chiropractor. And I didn't know
Oh
anything
wow.
about chiropractic other than I was merciless. I was very critical. I was very scientifically based. And
Yeah.
those guys are a bunch of quacks. You know, they don't do anything. They're charlatans. And so, of course, the girl, you know what she did? She says, hey, later for you. She broke up with me. The very next time I go to college, I meet Judy. And
Wow.
I fell in love with her immediately. And I said, by the way, what's your dad do? She said, my father's a chiropractor. I shut my mouth.
The
I didn't,
cosmic wink.
yeah, I didn't say another word. And then one day, you know, I didn't know much about it. You know, there's a whole philosophy, science, and art of chiropractic. And by the way, I had a mind body wellness center. So it wasn't just chiropractic, it was meditation, yoga, all kinds of transformational classes. I had 30
Mhm.
different people coming in and out of my office teaching uh, workshops, etc.
Wow.
So uh, one day I had a terrible allergy attack. I had suffered with seasonal allergies. And my father said, Judy's father said to me, let me give you an adjustment. I said, there's nothing wrong with my neck or back. What's that going to do for this? He said,
Right.
well, let me show you. So he adjusted me, and it was quite traumatic. I mean, he twisted my head, well, you know, he cavitated it,
Hmm.
and I thought my head was going to roll off my shoulders. I mean, the sound and the feel of it didn't
Yeah.
hurt, but the sound inside
Yeah.
its bone conduction, right? And my allergy attack stopped. As this stopped. And in the past, I would sneeze 20, 30, 40 times and take pills to stop it. I said, man, this is bigger than I ever thought. And
Wow.
so I made more investigation. And then Judy and I were traveling cross country one summer. We were both school teachers at the time. And we had a Volvo. The Volvo had very deep trunks
Hmm.
in the back. So one day she went to lift the suitcase out. She didn't bend her knees. She bent from the waist and she blew a disc in her lower back and she
Oh,
couldn't walk.
wow.
And I'm in California. And she said, take me to the chiropractor. I said, okay. And I asked my sister-in-law. She said, well, go to the guy down the block. And I literally carried Judy into the office.
Oh
Okay.
my goodness.
And she walked out. And I said, whoa, this is
Yeah.
powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Because most people in that state would have wound up in the hospital in the old days in traction for 2 weeks, you
Yep.
know. But she literally walked out. And the guy said, the doctor said, hey, bring her back the next day. I want to check her. Well, the next day I went back to have a follow-up visit to check her. And I'm sitting in the waiting room, no one else is there. And I glance over on the corner of the table, the console, and it says careers in chiropractic. I pick it up. I read the brochure. It says chiropractic is not for necks or backs. Chiropractic is the relationship between the brain and the body and the nervous system and goes into how everything's connected. What an epiphany.
Whoa.
I already had a master's degree in
Whoa.
education at the time. And the epiphany was that's what you're supposed to do.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we came back from California this summer, 3 months, and I enrolled in chiropractic college. And that's 45 years of family practice. So
Wow.
that was my journey. And by the way, there's not just one hero's journey. You're going to have several of them in your lifetime.
So
You're going,
many.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to meet situations you can't meet on one level, and you're going to have to dive deeper. And you're going
Hmm.
to be tested, you know, in the hero's journey, as you know, there's separation, isolation. Then you get the call. I got the
Hmm.
call as you get the call. And then you're going to meet the demons. You're going to meet, you know, the tests along the way. And then you're going to have the
Hmm.
gifts of success. Now I'm bringing the gifts back to the community. Because when people
Hmm.
hear this, you know, people, they find it incredulous when I tell them, well, I didn't come in this way. I got polished. You know,
Yeah,
you put a rock in a tumbler, it gets polished by 20, 30,
absolutely.
40 years. Well, this is the polished guy. I'm going to be 76 in 3 weeks. So, you know,
Wow. Beautiful. That's so, so
but there's hope,
beautiful.
folks. No matter how bad things are now, don't stay stuck in the moment. You know, life is a
Hmm.
river. Life is a river, and you can never step in that same river twice. You got to go with the
Yes,
flow. Let it flow.
exactly.
Don't get attached to anything because here's the other thing. Everything will be taken away. At some
Hmm.
point, you have to say goodbye to everyone and everything on this planet that you ever loved. So
Hmm.
don't be attached to people, places, or things. Learn to
Wow.
learn to appreciate, learn to savor it, learn to be thankful. You know,
Hmm.
when in doubt, what to do next, be thankful, no matter what's happening in your life. Try to find
Wow.
some silver lining,
Hmm.
something to be thankful for, even in a state of the tragedy or the pain and so on. Because we all have it. No one is immune. from tragedy and loss in this life, grief. It's
Mm-hmm.
part of the trip.
It
People
is.
try to numb themselves out with drugs and sex and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff, but you can't
Mm-hmm.
get away from it. It's
Exactly.
part of it. It's part of the trip.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I've spent a lot of time thinking about that, how we come into this human experience and then just pain and loss and trauma is inevitable. So when
It's
we think
part of it.
about, yeah, yeah, it's part of our journey. And so I really think there's so much power in changing our relationship with these things, these things that we'll experience. And
Well, change your expectation.
mhm,
That's the thing. Life is a paradox. It's both bitter and sweet at the
mhm,
same time. It's
mm.
not all milk chocolate. It's bittersweet. So
Yes.
there's joy and there's sorrow in everyone's life.
Hmm.
I'm working with people now. I mean, I do long distance healings all
Mm.
around the world, by the way. It's called attunement. You can go on my website, which is, here's my plug, drkenharris.com.
Yes,
But the full word doctor, DOCTOR. I don't know if you're going to put it in.
I
It's
will. I'll link
full
everything
word
below.
doctor, Ken Harris.com. And I do this thing called attunement, where I can tap into the field and meet the person. Rumi said there's a field beyond right doing and wrongdoing
Mm,
of in the energy world. And there's all kinds of situations from tragedies and loss that people experience.
hmm.
No
Absolutely.
one's born with a silver spoon. And sometimes, I hate to say it, but sometimes being born with that is a real tragedy, because you really never take the curriculum. You're always trying to
Hmm.
insulate yourself. See, rich people think they can stop this. Money can't.
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
Right.
sometimes money brings more of it on.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like
And
Biggie.
I'm not against money, by the way. Listen, I'm not one of these spiritual guys. And no, here's the deal: chop wood, carry water. Before
Yes.
enlightenment, after
Yes.
enlightenment, chop
Chop
wood,
wood,
carry
carry
water.
water.
Yeah, which is what we were talking about before. You can't live in one or both. Two worlds separate. It's connected.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Wow. Such beautiful wisdom.
Well,
And
again,
so,
you have to live life to come to this place. When I was 19, I thought I knew everything. Now I'm 76. You know what I know? I don't even know what I don't know. That's the scary part. We don't know what we don't know.
hmm. Yeah.
You stay humble. You stay. Thankfulness. Here's my nugget. One in doubt, what to do next? Be thankful. That that,
Hmm.
that would be the best advice, unsolicited, I could give you.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And so I do have another question. I'm wondering, what is it that made you decide, as I'm asking it, I feel like I know the answer, but I'm still curious. What made you decide to zero in on synchronicity?
Well, I started having a lot of them, little ones. And then I started having what we call sequential synchronicities,
Hmm.
one connected to the other. In one day, I could have three of them that were all connected. But the tipping point, honest to God, I resisted writing the book, because I said, oh, so I'm having this experience. It makes for good reading, but it's me. And then I heard the voice, hey, dum dum. Soul said, hey, dum dum. It ain't about you. Write the book to remind people of their own. Let them know they're not walking on this planet by themselves. Let them know there's guides, there's help. They got to ask.
Wow.
And it's prearranged. We're giving you these gifts. But the story that flipped me, that really got me, okay, I said, was the first story in my book again. It's about me meeting a friend of mine who was on my baseball team 54 years prior. So the bottom line, I'll tell the story quickly, but it's about my friend Richie winds up on a beach
Wow.
one day by accident, no accidents. I wind up on the same beach that same day by accident, no accident. I was on a place called Shelter Island, which is in Long Island, New York. And Judy
Okay.
said, my wife said, let's go down to the East Hampton beach where there are waves, because in the bay there are no waves. So she wanted to have some riding the waves. I said, okay. I get off in a town called Sag Harbor. You take a ferry, and then the road bifurcates, and I make the wrong turn, quote unquote, and I wound up in a town called Amagansett. Now, Amagansett is in the Hamptons, right next to East Hampton. but it's a 2 mile trip back and forth. And in the Hamptons, if you've ever been there in the summer, it can take you 2 hours to go 2 miles. That's how bad the traffic is. So I said to Judy, we're going to make the best of a wrong decision. We're going to stay on this beach this day. Same water, same sand, just 2 miles up the road. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. We have ocean view. No one's on the beach yet. Very few people. About a half hour later, this guy
Right.
walks down on a cane and he's hobbling. And he chose to sit literally right next to me. And I realized why. He said, hey, mister, did you have your hip replaced? He says, yeah. How do you know? I said, well, I could see the way you walk. I said, I'm a chiropractor. I've seen this many times. I said, let me help you get up and down. He said, no, I'll do it myself. He was very, very non-communicative. But he's literally sitting like right here, right next to me, and obstructing my ocean view. So I was going to say to myself, the voice of my ego said, hey, I was going to ask this guy to move. It's a big beach. Could you go a few feet over that way or this way? But the soul voice said, hey, tell him your Yankee Stadium story, Ken. Now, why Yankee Stadium? Because he was wearing a Yankee hat. So I said, sir, I see you wearing a Yankee hat. I'm going to tell you a story. You may think I'm making this up. But when I was 14 years old and I grew up in the South Bronx, we won the championship of the New York Mirror Little Fellas League, which was a paper that sponsored the Little League. And we had an opportunity to play a 3-inning exhibition game, a nighttime game in Yankee Stadium. And I was in Yankee Stadium with all my heroes, Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, Moose Cowan, Whitey Ford, anyone who knows that. What happened?
I'm back.
Anyway, so I was in the, in the dugout with all my heroes.
Okay.
Up to bat, I hit a home run, 200 feet on the right center field. They brought the fence in for the little kids, for us.
Yeah.
My own kids didn't even believe this story because they didn't have cameras and that so on. My mother used to.
Right.
My mother was there at the stadium. She prayed and she told the truth. She put her hand on her back. It happened. Anyway, I tell this guy this story. This guy Richie, the guy with the Yankee hat.
Yeah.
He goes like this. Stop. I go, uh-oh, maybe he's a Boston Red Sox fan. Because they hate each other, right? He says, I know who you are. You're Kenny Harris. I said, I'm not, I got my bathing suit on, right? I'm looking, where's my name tag? I said, you know me? He says, oh yeah, I know that story. I said, how do you know that story? He says, because I'm Richie. I was on your team. I hadn't seen him in 54 years. I know.
Oh,
You can't make it up.
Gosh.
So we had a reunion with the coach.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
When that happened, we were high-fiving. I hugged him. I mean, I said, oh my God.
Wow.
Then I said, Richie, what made you come to this beach? He says, you're not going to believe this, Ken.
That is incredible.
Well, credible. It's credible.
Oh. Okay.
So I asked Richie, what made you come to the beach today, this beach? He said, well, years ago, I used to rent a house on this Atlantic Avenue. I said, Richie, so did I for many years. We never met till that day. And I said, I came to this beach by accident.
Right.
You were on your way to Montauk, he told me, which is the end of Long Island. And all of a sudden, his car went down Atlantic Avenue. So he said, I had a nostalgia. I wanted to go take another look at the beach because I hadn't been here in years. Anyway,
wow.
You see how all the things had a sync. All those little mistakes came into boom.
Yeah.
And that's how it works, by the way. There's so many behind the scenes things that had to be manipulated. And it's not the conscious mind. But when that experience happened, I said, all right, I'll write the book. It became a bestseller because the stories in the book, you can't make this stuff up.
Wow.
People say, oh, it's probability, it's statistics, it's random, no way, Jose.
Yeah.
Do you believe that? Good God bless, because it can't happen. It can't happen through probability and statistics. And there are other stories that are the same way,
Yeah.
He did defy any kind of conscious explanation. There's a lot of factors, invisible factors behind the scenes working in it. I always think of as human beings, we're marionettes. They you know what a marionette is? The puppets.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So they got the strings, so the spirit world said, okay, Ken's gonna meet Shanu now. Boom. Beep.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll remember and they'll connect. And you move us around. I mean, you had a You had to deviate from your norm that day to meet me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the reason I was up where I met you was my wife said, if you're going to talk on the phone, she's reading a book, you got to go over there and give me quiet time. So I had just gotten off the phone with someone else under that pavilion.
Mm-hmm.
But my wife was the one who said, hey, adios, I'm reading. I don't want to hear your conversation. Because I talk to people all around the world. So I'm always on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So in deference to her request, I went over there and the rest is history. You came down and I got finished with the call and those cornrows caught my attention.
Wow.
I'm a very aware and awake of my environment. And I pay
Mm-hmm.
attention. Signs and symbols are everywhere present.
Yeah.
I didn't know when I complimented you that
Right.
you
I mean, how could you, how could we
were,
like right off rip? It's like it's crazy, And now that you've said this, it's so funny because we always say like, well, some of us say there's no such thing as coincidence. It's
that's what I say in
synchronicity.
the book. I say that there are no coincidences.
Yeah, but like now you've got me like thinking there's really not even any such thing as a mistake because all the mistakes lead us exactly where we're meant to be as well.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. So
Not to
beautiful.
judge it right, wrong, good or bad. Pay attention. Here's what I
Mm-hmm.
say. Everyone you meet has something either as a student or teacher to you. We
Mm-hmm.
exchange energy and information every time we interact. From the guy who pumps our gas to the checkout person at the supermarket. I always
Mm-hmm.
talk to those people, by the way. Very few people ever talk. Now, the guy, you said you had this checkout guy look at you and there was boom, something happened. They said, have a
Mm-hmm.
nice day. But I always say good morning to them. And I speak Spanish. A lot of the places we go, a lot of the employees are Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
And I see they light up when I speak to them,
Ah.
you know? But you never know what effect that'll have on them the rest of the day. So, we find opportunities to bless people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As you were saying that, I just got this clear hit that was just like one of the simplest things that we can do, I feel like, is just to be more human. Yeah.
Be kind because everybody's working through some stuff that you never know.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a private fear or a private concern that they don't tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So that when next time someone is impolite or cuts in front of you, ask yourself, what pain are they in?
Mm-hmm.
Don't take it personally. That's the other thing in the four agreements. You familiar with the
Yes.
book, The Four Agreements?
Yes.
How people treat you says more about them than it does about you.
Always.
Don't take it personally. Just let the water
Always.
come and roll off. It's because we get insulted. The ego. They didn't say
Oh,
goodbye to me.
how could they? All these
That's the
things I'm
fact.
going through, and they don't even know. Then it turns out we don't know what they're going through. Everybody's living in their own world. Literally, we're all in our own universes, but like paradoxically, we are all one.
That's the truth. What you said is 1,000% true. Yeah, we're
Hmm.
separate and we're unified at the same time. And when people say to me about reality, I said there is no objective reality.
Hmm.
Everyone wears a different lens
Hmm.
glass, and they fractionate what they're seeing through that lens. And so you and I could look at quote the same object and we'll describe it entirely differently. And
Yeah.
I've done this. You put an object in the center of a circle, and then you give everybody different colored glasses and say, "Tell me what you're seeing." Oh, I see a red elephant. No, I see a green one. No, I see a trunk. No, I see the tail. I mean, so there's no objectification. When my wife and I go out for dinner, I don't drink anymore because I got that Irish gene, so I stay away from alcohol. But
Nice.
she wants a glass of wine, and she starts to ask. She used to ask the waiter, "Well, how's the wine?" And he would go through this whole explanation. Oaky, smoky, toky. I said, "Hey, sir, just bring her a taste. The two you like the best. You know what? It's either going to be yum or yuck. I
Yeah.
don't care what you describe it. Her
Yeah.
taste buds may not be your taste buds. No, you say, I love this one, and she'll taste it. Oh, that's yuck. And he'll say,
Yeah.
well, I'm not crazy about this one. She'll taste it. That's wonderful.
That's so funny. That's
That's
so
life.
funny because I always do the same thing.
Don't ask them anymore. Just say, bring me a taste. That's all.
Yeah.
Because your taste buds will make the determinant which one you like
Hmm.
and which one you don't like.
Mm.
Anyway,
Wow. Wow. Well, this has been so beautiful, Dr. Ken. I'm so, so, so grateful just for this opportunity in itself. And um, before we close this out, I wonder if you could share with us how to be more aware of synchronicities when they arise. I was going to say how to attract them more, but I feel like
well, that's,
they're always all there already.
yes, synchronicity, in my understanding, is already present in our lives. It's not something that happens as an aberration, once in a while. No, it's happening all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I would say is be aware of your environment, be aware of what's right in front of you. Don't go looking for it down the road, and pay attention to the connections you can draw when you get information. See, when someone starts talking to me, I listen to what they're saying. I'm saying, oh, is this a message for me from God, from the universe? I need to pay attention to this. And
Mm-hmm.
many oftentimes, as I listen, I can connect immediately. Oh, I'm hearing this for this reason. And then I share back with the people too. I ask them questions and I listen to their answers.
Mm-hmm.
They're in, it's not hard. It's a hop, skip, and a jump to making the connection. For me, it's easy because I'm in the now moment,
Mm-hmm.
listening to what they're asking and paying attention to what they're telling me.
Wow.
So that would
Wow.
be that would be you don't have to go looking for it. It'll find you because it's everywhere present. I say synchronicity is ubiquitous. Big word. Everyone's having them. They're having them all the time. They know not that. But now that you're aware,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to see. People read my book. After reading the book, I get letters. Before reading your book, I wasn't aware. Now I pay
Oh.
attention, and now I'm seeing the connections, and I'm starting to retrospect and understand why I met certain people at certain points in my life.
Mm-hmm.
That those were gifts, but I didn't know it until I read your book, Ken. So we give
Wow.
a whole roadmap. The second half of the book is not stories. The first half is all stories. The second half talks about the 7 types of synchronicity, of which they're each distinct. The
Mm-hmm.
6 reasons we meet people, they're all not the same. The 5 questions you should ask for interpretation, very specifically. And then there are 4 practices to create synchronicities in your own life. You can do it through meditation. That's one.
Mm. Wow.
And start
Wow.
keeping a journal for yourself. When they happen, start writing them down. I used to get a new patient in, and I said, "What brought you here? To my office?" I said, "Well, I saw your office sign. I used to drive by here every day for 5 years, and then I heard your name from someone else, and I
Mm-hmm.
made the connection. So here I am." So once they get on to care, I
Right.
come back. You know what they tell me? "Hey, doc, did you know there are 11 other chiropractors in the town of Waldwick?" I said, "Yeah, I know that." So I never saw another sign till I started coming to see you because they're now aware in a way.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
how it works. That's how consciousness works.
Mm. So beautiful. So, so beautiful. Dr. Harris, thank you so much for sharing and for just blessing the portal. And how can people get access to more of you? Your website is amazing. I could get lost. I could get
You can
lost
spend a day
down,
or two. Yeah.
yeah, down the rabbit hole, and it's all just amazing. I love it so much.
Well,
But
we give out a monthly newsletter. I have for the last 2.5 years in any case.
mhm, I
And
really enjoyed this last one.
they're archived. They're all archived. You can go back and read, each month for the last two, which was a way of me connecting to the community. Uh,
Mhm.
you also, if you sign up and it's free, you have access to the 7654 formula of synchronicity. And we go, it's a little pamphlet. It talks about the 7 types, the 6 reasons, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. That's a freebie. We call it a lead magnet to get your attention. So that's something that'll come right to your computer once you give me your first name and your email
Mhm.
address. And, I'm an open book. I mean, my phone number is there. They can call me, they can email me. I answer everybody's email. Anyone writes to me, as you know, you wrote to me, and a
Mhm.
quick response. I check it
Yeah.
every day. And if you got a great synchronicity story, you got a wow one, like I shared with you, send it in because we'll do a series of these books possibly in the future of other people's stories. I
Mm.
mean, some of the other people's stories on relationships, how and why they met, and then they didn't see each other for 20, 30 years and they re-met. It's crazy. and plan
Wow.
to get married. Those are very interesting.
Yeah.
Relationship. There's many times there's a soul agreement between the two people. They
Whew.
grow up, they separate, they marry other people, they go to different states, they change jobs, and they meet.
Wow.
Either a spouse divorced or died, and now they're back in later life together.
Mm,
So those are always interesting.
wow. Wow. So beautiful. Thank you so much.
Well, you're more than welcome. I'm happy we had this interaction, and as I say, I'll show up anywhere anybody invites me. I'm an open book. I'm pretty transparent.
Hmm.
I talked a lot of intimate things in my own book about my own journey, because in the end, it's nothing personal.
Yeah,
My story is your
absolutely.
story in some way. There's elements of my story that you have, and so we're all in the hero's journey or heroine's journey. Male,
Hmm.
female, doesn't matter. Uh,
Yeah.
you're young. I don't know, how old are you? You're young. Let me put it down. So you started out early. You're way ahead of the curve. You're way ahead of the curve.
Mm,
Most people your age, in your age bracket, I can guess, are not having the interest that you're having in these deeper questions. They
yeah.
usually have to, suffer a little more and
Hmm.
come to start asking the big ones. Why?
Yeah.
Who am I? Why? Basically, who am I? Why am I here? What am I here
Right.
to give? And what am I here to get? It's both. It's giving and getting.
Hmm.
That's the human and the being. We're not here just quote to give. We're here also to get something.
Hmm.
And we need to have
Yes.
a balance between the giving
And the
and
receiving.
and
Yes.
it's a challenge to receive. That was my challenge. I was always in the giving.
Yeah.
I always want to be in control and give. Like I go out to a restaurant, I always pick up the tab. Why? Because I want to be in
Right.
control. Now people take me out. They want to pay. I say, fine. Let them have the joy. Let them have the joy that I used to have for paying for other people. But it took me a long time to get to that place.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is another slippery slope, finding the balance between giving and receiving. Yeah.
Okay,
Creation,
well,
creation and
I assume
consuming.
this is going to go out on YouTube or someplace. You're going to
Hmm.
post this. Let me know where you're going to post it, and I'll repost it.
Beautiful.
Send
Yeah.
me a link.
YouTube, Spotify. Oh, yeah. All the
Okay,
things. All right. Until next time, Wolf Portal listeners.
and you can call me anytime. Call me anytime you have more questions. Okay,
Beautiful.
you got my number.
Bye.
Adios. That means go with God.